Hello and welcome to another video. Okay, so today we're going to be cleaning our daily. Now this car is literally a daily, it's only a little Yaris, but it obviously deserves a clean. I don't think we've cleaned it for at least 3 or 4 months. I think it's had one clean since we've owned it, and we only bought it just for the winter months so I didn't have to destroy the alloys on my Focus ST. So we're going to be using the detailing shed. Woohoo! So let's crack on, get the pressure washer wired up and let's get going. Okay, so just to show you what we're dealing with today, here is our lovely Mark 1 Yaris. As you can see, it is in desperate need of a little detail. Now this car, we haven't decided if we're going to sell it yet or keep it. It's got a whole year's MOT on it, so it's very tempting just to keep it, as you know, it's in good nick. But yeah, so hello Hayley. So yeah, we're just going to give it a quick wash, get into all the little, do you mind? Get into all the little nooks and crannies, get it all cleaned up, so if we do sell it, all it then needs is a quick once over before it goes to a new owner. So let's get cracking. Okay, so first job, the wheels. So as you can see, we've got Yum wheels and Yum Undress, my favourite company on this planet. So first things first, give it a rinse. Okay, so I don't really care about this wet wash. Hopefully I'll get a new one soon. Nudge nudge, wink wink, you know. So firstly, Yum Undress. These haven't had a dressing on, but I still think it's good practice just to give them a clean. So there we go. Give the tyres a good coating. Let that dwell for a second. And then once we're waiting for that to dwell, just a bit of Yum wheels. Okay, so in this bucket here, I've got some Yum wash, only a little bit of water because you don't really need a lot of it. Wherever I just put the...
It's in the bucket.
Did you put it in the bucket?
It's in the bucket.
Ah!
Sorry.
It's cold water. Okay. So, still waiting on the Yumcars version of the tyre brush, but for now I'll use this. I hate it, but it works. So you just want to give it a good scrub. And as you can see, the tyre is extremely dirty. So that's what the Yum Undress obviously does. So I'm not going to put that back in there because it's cold. So with the Yum wheels, so I've got one of the small wheel willies that again Yumcars does. So we're just going to give it a bit of a clean to get right in the barrels. I could probably use the medium brush, but I quite like the small one because it gets right behind the caliper without having to keep changing. Again, I'm not going to go too deep in the alloys. It is an 18-year-old car, and realistically, it's never going to be perfect. So, right, next up, I need to go grab the brush to do the wheel face, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so again, Yumcars wheel face brush and Yumcars detailing brush. So give it a bit of a lubrication. Everyone likes a bit of lubrication. And you just give the face of the wheel a good going over. And as I said, these are very, very contaminated alloys. I don't expect these to come out perfect, but close to perfect is what we're aiming for. So again, detailing brush gets in the nuts, as it were. Give your nuts a good old scrub. Make sure you get all the bits out. And whilst you got it out, just give the whole front another going over. Now these wheels probably do need 2 hits. As I said, these have probably not been cleaned for a very long time. So, time for the first rinse. Okay, so that's the first rinse done. So we're just going to do that step exactly again. I'll time lapse this bit if I can be bothered to show you the second lot of product being used.
I can show you what love's supposed to feel like. I can show you what love's supposed to be. I can show you what love's supposed to feel like. I can show you, yeah.
There's one part we actually sort of forgot to do. So in this bottle, I have some Maguire's APC. Fingers crossed Yumcars brings out their own one soon. Anyway, so with this, all I'm going to use this for is the wheel arches. You can use undress and obviously wheel cleaner, but I don't see the point because, again, the car's worth about 700 quid. So, just all in the inside, give it a good coating. We're going to do this on all 4 corners, but I won't show you all 4 corners because wheel cleaning is exactly the same no matter what. Okay, so we've done the APC, we've let that dwell for a bit. Whilst I'm waiting for that to dwell a little bit longer, I'm just going to hit it again with some Yum wheels just because these are so caked that it's going to take a lot of scrubbing to get them off. As I said, I don't want it to be perfect, but I want a near perfect finish. So give it another hit. Wherever. Right, who keeps putting these brushes in the bucket? Anyway, I've got my brush. Giving it a good clean. Now, I might have to stop videoing in a minute because I might be spoken to. It is rinse time. Assistant do the rest whilst I have a look at what she has managed to video. So one corner clean, let's crack on with the next one. Just thought I'd show you all this dirt, which is what we're looking to eradicate today. So we've got this bit here, again, as you can see, it is pure filth. So, oh my muff. Anyway, let's get the wheels done and then it's on to the bodywork. Okay, so that's all 4 corners done. Again, they're not perfect. These alloys are very bad condition, but it is only just a generic clean. So it's onto the bodywork now. So we're going to give it a good rinse. There is a lot of lacquer peel and a lot of areas that we will not be able to perfect. We would normally do a machine polish, but actually there's not enough paint on this car to do that. We use one of those paint reader things to tell us how much paint is on there, and it's near on nothing, which is apparently very common in red cars. So let's get and rinse this car off, ready for a snow foam, which is everyone's favourite part of car cleaning. obviously this has not been treated at all. As you can see, the water's not even pooling off. It's just sitting on the paint. So if we can just change out with a few Yumcars products, that would be amazing. So that's a generic rinse off. I'm sure everyone knows how to do that. So it's now time for the snow foam. So give me a moment to set that up, and you can all see the most satisfying thing about cleaning your car. So I've used my quick release connection and got my snow foam cannon on. Now this is a new gadget that I have. I've only used it once, and if you've seen the previous model, it's very hard for the bottle to stand up without any assistance, but this is an amazing bit of kit, so let's get snow foaming. Of this cannon is it uses little to almost no product. So what I've done 2 cars, or technically 1 car 2 times with this for the snow foam, and it's still got a lot of the bottle left. Let's carry on. Okay, so we just leave that to dwell for a few minutes, and then we'll just give it one more snow foam, give it a rinse off, then it's onto the hand washing. So we've let that dwell for a minute or 2, so it's now time for the rinse off. Okay, so this is the older version, as I mentioned. As I said, it's got a very little base, so it doesn't really stand on its own, but it's very good to keep your scrubbing foam, as I call it. So in this I've got a little bit of Yum Wash and a tiny bit of snow foam, and that will just lubricate the car easier for the hand wash. Now obviously we're not so bothered about putting scratch marks into this car, it's already got plenty on it already, but we want to obviously try and instill best practice, as it were. So let's give it one more snow foam, and then it's onto the hand wash. Onto the hand wash. So we've got 2 buckets, one for rinsing, one for the wash. I'm using Yum Wash along with my Yum buckets. Now obviously just a little squidge, then I'll just use the jet wash or power wash to give it some suds. And there is your sunny goodness. So until Yumcars release their own, here is a cheap mitt that we will be using to wash the car. And I just flicked myself. Muffs, flicking. God, this video is going to be well fun. So yeah, I'm going to let my wonderful assistant do this bit so I can get the angles. We're going to give the areas where there's a bit of green a bit of a more intense scrub, shall we say. So we're just going to use the APC that we were using earlier, giving the areas a good going over, and then using our detailing brush, which is from Yumcars again, so it's a fresh brush. We're just going to give it a bit of a bit of a scrub to make sure all the bits are completely eradicated. And we're going to do this all around the rubbers on the doors. Cool, and now my wonderful assistant wants to follow me around to the back. Now again, there's some dirt always trapped in the little badges on these cars. So again, we're just going to give it a bit of a squirt and give it a good scrub again with the detailing brush, making sure to get in all the little bits that the mitt can't. So got it all into little nooks and crannies. So it's now time to rinse. Oh, just one more thing. Normally you'd have to wash your flaps. So your petrol flap would normally open, you'd be able to open, obviously giving it a good clean. We have done that off camera just so everyone knows. Anyway, let's give it a rinse. We've given it a good rinse, and there's obviously bits that we're going to miss, so we're not giving it a full 100% effort because the car is relatively old and may be sold at some point. So I'm going to use the Yumcars drying towel. Again, this has been used a couple of times, hence all the masks, but we're not going to be too bothered about putting marks on this thing. And we're also going to pair that up with some Yum detailer. So if you want to follow me, so what we're going to do is just going to give it a couple of squirts, and as you can see the water is already starting to pool. Then all we're going to do is just use the towel just to give it a bit of a dry, and obviously potentially getting the bits that we may have missed during the wash. So we're just going to do that all the way around the car, and we'll catch up in a bit. That's the whole car completely dry-ish. We're going to go on to the protection stage. Now normally you would give it a good wax, polish, the usual, but as I said, we don't want to go too ham on this. We're going to give it some protection, so we're going to use Yum ceramic along with a plush towel, well actually 2 plush towels, but I'll leave one in there just so I don't drop it because I have no pockets other than the one on the front. So with this you can either squirt it straight on the towel or straight on the panel, although in my case what I'm going to do is divide the towel into 4 and just spray straight on the panel in this case. So we're going to make sure the lid is open, give it a, there we go, give it a spritz, and then just wipe over the panel, and then we're going to flip it to a clean dry side and give it a bath, and that should just give it some protection through the rain, which no doubt being the UK is going to happen sooner rather than later. In fact, now I've washed the car, the chances are it will rain tomorrow, even though the Met Office says it's not. So we're going to get that whole car done and we'll go back to you. That's the whole ceramic car now, as you can see. It's looking very glossy. There are bits that we've missed, but as I said, this is only a good car clean, not an excellent car clean. So now on to the penultimate step, which is the Yum glass. So a bit like the ceramic, we're just going to give it a good squirt, squirt, and then we're going to wipe, and then with the cleaner side or dry side, give it a bath. Now this is probably the worst window to show you on. Reason being is it has a lot of marring from a previous paint job. So let's go on to this one. So again, I said a couple of squirts. We're gonna give it a good wipe, and then from the dry side give it a buff, and it does make it a lot better no matter how bad the windows are. Obviously there is the inside to do on the glass, which we will do on the interior video, which should come after this one, but we're going to do that at a separate time because we're losing some light. So we're just going to go around all the glass, do exactly the same steps, and we'll get back to you for the final step of the car clean. All the glass cleaned, now it's on to the final step, which is Yum dress. Now this smells really good. I could wash myself in this. Probably not something you should do though. So I've got my gloves on because you can get a little bit greasy using this, and I'm also using the Yumcars Hex applicator, which is absolutely beautiful and nice and soft. So I'm just going to apply a little bit on the foam like so. Then all I'm going to do is squish it together and get it all, the whole foam basically saturated, which as you can see is now saturated. So if you want to follow me over to the faded grey bit at the front, which you'll see the most difference on, it's just a case of giving the plastics a bit of nourishment. Obviously this is very, very faded and hasn't had any sort of dress for probably 18 years. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a coating just to make it a little bit more presentable. So we're going to do this on all the plastics around the car, and that'll be all of it done. Okay, so that is the wash complete. Now what I'll do is, as I'm talking now, I'll drop in a few overlays of how this thing looks in the areas which we're particular about. Now I will say one thing: green on the seals, or the window seals, it came off, majority of it came off, but it has actually left some residue. So make sure you clean your cracks. If you don't clean your cracks, you'll get green in them, and it'll go away, but you're going to have loads of little dimples in there. So make sure you clean your cracks. So as I said, I'm just going to do a few overlays and just let you know what this thing looks like after we've given it a wash. Right, as I said, that is it, all done. Thank you for watching the video. Give it a like if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get me to 100 followers. As my other half has said, she'll buy me a MacBook Pro if I get to 100 followers. Or follow my Instagram, which I'll drop a link in the description below. Again, if I hit 1,500 followers on that, that's the other, shall we say, caveat for me getting my MacBook Pro. So again, as I said, I hope you enjoy. On to the next one, which will be the interior.